or
Malcolm,
mandating this for kids.
I hope every Democrat in America takes your perspective, and they will be shellacked at the polls. Roy Teixeira just wrote a piece, the emerging Democrat majority, Roy Teixeira, he just wrote a piece about what he called the Fox News fallacy, a tendency of people on the left to believe that just because Fox News mentions something, it can't be real. The reality is a lot of this stuff is taught in schools.
You mean like viruses?
Well, okay. Well, can I?
What is that? I didn't. What's he saying there?
He said you mean like viruses.
Yeah. What does that mean? I don't get it.
So, okay.
Explain it to the dum-dums here.
Just because Fox News mentions something, it can't be real.
He's trying to create another straw man that people on the right don't believe COVID is real.
Oh,
right.
okay.
So he said,
or that Fox News doesn't say COVID is real.
Gotcha.
Right.
Even,
yeah.
Gotcha.
He said just because Fox News says something doesn't mean you should reactively say it's not true.
And he just did. He basically just proved Ben's point.
Yes.
I guess you're right. He did, didn't he?
You mean that COVID?
Yeah.
This is why this conversation was so triggering to me. Like, Ben is, and I'm not a big fucking Ben Shapiro fan by any merit whatsoever, but or any degree whatsoever.
You love him.
Yeah, oh sure. He's one of the tribe. I have to love him. But
you guys would get along.
I don't know if we actually would. I
You
mean,
could smoke some weed with Ben.
There you go.
I totally get high with Ben.
I
Are you
feel
kidding
like
me?
Ben would not be.
Oh yeah, Ben would bump our high out. We would immediately regret that.
Ben would talk at normal speed.
Oh my god, could you imagine?
We would immediately regret this. He'd start going. He would bring up abortion. We'd be like, "Oh God, Ben, we just smoked out. What the fuck?"
I know. But no, but he is making real arguments.
I know.
And Malcolm Nance is just giving these
talking
insanely bullshit talking points.
Totally.
And I don't know if it's just the difference between Ben Shapiro and Malcolm Nance, or maybe this is sort of the difference between the new media, people who are used to sort of long format conversations where you actually bring up points and get into deep conversations.
That's a great point.
Versus Malcolm Nance, who's, the pundit on MSNBC, CNN, who just gives these fucking snippy one-liners.
I know. He's never had to actually engage in a debate because all the segments he's on are like 45 seconds.
Maybe.
He's in and out. He's like, oh no, what have I done? Ben Shapiro does a 2-hour show where he talks all by himself.
Right. Nicholas Miles for $20. Thank you, Nicholas. Says something in Latin because he wants to fucking screw with me. Centrium censeo deladam s communism.
You just said like communism is great.
I don't know what that fucking means.
We got trolled, guys.
In English, furthermore, moreover, I consider that
you did the
communism
translate.
must be destroyed.
Oh, good.
There you go.
Okay, good. We didn't get trolled.
There you go. We didn't get trolled.
The reality, a lot of this stuff is taught in schools.
You mean like viruses?
Well, okay.
Oh look!
Can
So smug.
Can I just,
what you're talking
as far
about.
as what people are experiencing in their lives?
Did you hear that? Did you hear that little?
Very easily confused. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Oh my god.
What did he say?
Such an asshole.
What did he say? I missed it.
He said you're very easily confused.
Oh, okay. Oh wow. Wow. Getting toxic here. This must be that toxic masculinity they're always telling me about.
I know. But you're right. Those glasses are terrible on Bill Maher.
You don't like those glasses?
No. I don't like the Rachel Maddow glasses on Bill Maher. No.
Oh my God. He looks like maybe he's farsighted.
Who was it? It was who was making fun of your glasses?
My glasses?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Someone.
What?
This just happened. I'm blanking on it.
Ban them in the chat. I don't care. No one makes fun of my glasses.
To them. We were just talking to them.
Was it Ethan? Maybe Ethan.
Oh, it was Ethan. That's right. Ethan was making fun of my glasses. Yeah. What did he say? That you were using them to hide your face? Or something? He said something homophobic, I thought.
It was homophobic? You were triggered by it?
No, I just thought it was funny.
That's okay.
Adam actually knows exactly what happened, but he's pretending like he doesn't remember. So
what do you? No, I don't. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I understand. Okay. The chat remembers.
Are they as bad as? I mean, he's got the far-sighted thing going where like it magnifies your eyeballs. Your eyeballs look really close.
Gotcha.
Which is the weird thing. Yeah.
in their schools.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right. There are states like from the old Confederacy, I think, who do want to airbrush history. That's not, I think, the majority in this country. If you ask me critical race theory, if you say, does that mean teach history unvarnished? I would say yes. Then I'm totally for critical race theory. If you say, does it mean acknowledging that racism persists today? I would say yes, teach that. Should we have remedial means? That's like affirmative action. There's lots of people who are against that. I'm still for that. I still think when you read the statistics, and I have some of them here, blacks earn 40% less, 90% less family wealth.
Do you know the right has an argument on that that's a kind of compelling, but I'm curious if you guys have heard it, where the stats are that the wealth disparity is largely because of demographics, that the population of blacks is much younger. Like the average population of blacks are in their 20s and the average population of whites are like in their 50s. And obviously, if you have a large population in their 50s, they're going to have more wealth than a large population in their 20s.
Yeah, I think these things will even out with time, but
Yeah.
we're just trying to.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's a different argument, though. Couldn't you control for that statistically easily?
I don't know if
to
they're
see
doing
that's
it though,
true?
because so many of these statistics are cooked up to, like, you know, for political reasons, not to actually know what's going on.
I have a feeling that if you were to control for age, it would closen things, but the wealth gap is massive. And it's mostly just because most of white people's wealth is entirely in their home.
Yeah.
And if you have a disproportionate amount of black people don't own homes whatsoever, then obviously it's going to look like there's this massive wealth gap.
That's a cultural thing, though. I mean, pushing to be a homeowner is a difficult thing to do, and if people don't want to do it, then what are you going to do?
It's also a generational thing, too.
Yeah,
totally.
I think
people
more
today,
so than culture. That's a generational thing. Yeah.
Young people today don't think about becoming homeowners. Well, also they're in a totally shitty housing market, so who can blame them?
Well, but also if I would be curious if you could trace back most middle class white families, quote unquote, wealth to coming from the time period of the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like white people have just been kind of
hoarding.
Not hoarding, but they've been relying on the wealth generated from that time period to keep going forward.
Yeah.
And it's just because blacks families were unfortunately not able to, generate the wealth in that time period because this was, still during segregation.
Right.
And that's really
that's the CRT argument right there. And I don't know how accurate it is.
But that's not the CRT argument.
Yeah,
the CRT argument is that that the system still currently is out to get black people.
Right. But specifically, and we talked to Aaron about this, who I know is a terribly unreliable protagonist, but but he was a lot. Him, and I've heard this from other CRT people, they attribute the entire wealth disparity to the legacy of these, like, redlining and stuff like that.
No, I know that. But I'm not just talking about redlining. I'm just talking about because we talked about, like, the 50s to the 70s was sort of, workers had so much more power and influence.
Yeah.
Right. But obviously during that time period, whites were able to generate wealth significantly more effectively than blacks.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying maybe they're just maybe white families are just coasting off of that.
I don't know. But CRT would tell it they're generating that wealth off of oppressing blacks. That's their narrative, which is just like citation needed, right?
Sure.
High poverty.
I just want to say it's annoying that in these conversations, and this came up a lot in the Lauren Southern Surfs debate, that counterpoints, who I've heard him talk a couple of times, and I do like him, but it's annoying that he feels compelled to, and Bill Maher here feels compelled to, like, we have to make all these overtures. You have to be like, oh, look, I'm not racist. I agree with all these things. Like, you have, before you criticize, you have to be like, look, I'm on your side. I'm on your side. You have to give, like, the 10-minute explanation.
What's wrong with that?
Look, it's just tedious after a while. It's like, I get it. Okay, I get it.
Well, they're snowflakes. They'll melt very easily. They're very fragile.
Sure.
They're all
But
individuals.
But the snowflakes, they're not going to care. You know, you could have 10 minutes of agreeing with them and then 10 seconds of disagreeing, and they're just going to focus.
You're
on 10
out of
seconds
there.
of
I know.
disagreeing.
You're out of there.
Doesn't matter.
High schools, 72% blacks to 31% white, live 6 years shorter, half as likely to go to college, 8 times more incarcerated. These are real statistics. The question is, what do we do to address them? These are wonderful. Real statistics. You think we should address them? You think we should address them, right? The question is, what are we doing about it? Because if critical race theory means making children in school fixate on race, I'm not for that. If it's about collective guilt, I didn't do anything to your great-great-great-grandfather. I don't want to be responsible for that. If it's about, a toxicity of just from being born white, if it's about dividing everybody into oppressor and oppressed and oppressor, I'm not for that. So there are things that are being taught and are going around that I'm not for, that if that was critical race theory, I wouldn't be for.
I agree with you, and I don't think that's critical race theory.
But it's...
Oh, my God.
It's constantly this shifting thing that is never able to be pinned down.
I know.
By
Oh,
the
it's
people who are
so
advocating it.
infuriating.
I was annoyed too because I wanted to ask Aaron this, and we kind of didn't because we got super sidetracked.
Mm-hmm.
Which is because in our first conversation with Sam and Aaron, that was what they'd say for everything. And Aaron did the same thing in the second conversation, where I'd say, I don't like X. And they'd say, well, X is not critical race theory. Or they would say, oh, well, this thing that you don't like that's being taught in public schools is not critical race theory. And it's like, okay, so I don't give a fuck what you want to label it. You can label it whatever you want. Or actually, if I'm talking to Aaron and Sam, say, okay, you're supposed to be learned on the subject. If it's not critical race theory, what is it? What is the actual label that we should be calling these things
that we don't like? Yeah.
That supposedly you claim you also don't like, but somehow end up keep incidentally defending.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Right? So it's like, I'm a little skeptical here.
We're seeing this debate over and over again. Now, Nance is like, but that's not but that's not critical race. This is literally just him parroting Joy Reid.
Well, in his position doesn't even make sense because he's like, I agree with you, Bill. I don't want those things taught, but that's not critical race theory. It's like, well, even if it's not critical race theory, if that's what they're labeling critical race theory, and that's what they're targeting to the schools, then why do you care what it's being labeled as if you still agree that it's wrong in the first place?